Teachers across the United States have certainly demonstrated resilience when we made this monumental paradigm shift from face-to-face to distance instruction. But this didn't come without huge challenges. The biggest challenge most of us are facing is meeting the instructional needs of our students. From an equity standpoint, a lot of our students may not have internet access, and many of their parents are now working from home or are unemployed. Sometimes the older kids are responsible for their younger siblings, and then there's the issue of trauma on our students. All of these things can present a huge challenge. On top of that, we now had to find ways to provide our students with disabilities equal access to a high-quality education. Equity in education has to begin with a regulated brain. Let's face it, our current crisis is causing trauma for many of us, so it would make sense then that some of our students are dysregulated right now. A challenge I've been able to overcome in distance learning is continuing my trauma-sensitive classroom practices remotely. To meet my students' learning needs, I'm always making sure that I'm meeting their emotional needs first. From an equity standpoint, if we don't first address emotional needs, our students of trauma are already beginning on an uneven playing field. When reacting to trauma, the brain is not in a responsive state. So I have to continue connecting and interacting with my students as much as I can to help them continue to learn to self-regulate their brain and their emotions. Once this happens, we can at least attempt to reach a level playing field for our students of trauma. And we all have students at different levels, and some with special educational needs. So it's an additional challenge to continue to modify their assignments and meet their needs remotely. So what does a typical distance teaching week look like for me? Beginning Friday, I start preparing my lessons and coursework for the following week. I regularly communicate with my students and parents using Remind texts, Microsoft Teams, and Zoom meetings. But I have found Flipgrid is an awesome online platform where I can interact with my students and assess learning through video responses. This was the best application for me because even my students without internet or a computer do have access to a mobile device. And Flipgrid is easily accessed on a phone or a tablet. Whether I've recorded a video lesson or whiteboard presentation or assigned them something else, my students have the option of responding with a selfie or video, explaining or showing what they've learned. It's important to engage our students by not only using a mix of content delivery methods, but a mix of assessment methods as well. I incorporate video, audio, and interactive activities for both instruction and assessment to meet the needs of my students. Some of them are recording their responses, while others prefer to create a presentation or take a picture of their work. I think we as teachers, especially during this time, need to be flexible in the presentation of material, as well as the assessment of learning outcomes. Students study a new topic each week for both math and science, as well as an emotional check-in, so I can help address any worries or concerns they might have. It's how I begin every day in the classroom. It helps me see who might have a difficult time with learning because of things going on in their lives. And then I make adjustments to my teaching and expectations for each child every day. Learning remotely can be an isolating experience, so it's important to support and encourage my students and allow them opportunities to interact with me and their classmates. It's so important to keep these connections going during online learning. What I have found through all of this is that parents are being challenged as well. It is not an easy transition for them, especially those with multiple children in different grades, and those who may be also trying to work from home. So this is a challenge in equity as well. I'm trying to support my students' parents in any way I can, which means conferencing over Zoom, making home visits to deliver materials, and streamlining my lessons to make it easier on them. My parents know that I'm just a phone call or text away for technical questions as well as content issues they might be having. Another important consideration in equity is to keep online lessons asynchronous as much as possible. Our Zoom meetings are great, but it's important to be mindful of the barriers students might face in trying to connect to live stream classes. Students have more opportunities for success when they can view pre-recorded presentations and participate in discussions on their own schedules. Everyone does not learn in the same way in the classroom, so why would that be any different in distance learning? I'm tailoring my lessons and assessments differently for each student, but in the end, they're learning in the best way for them. I really think our educational system has an opportunity to transform itself, having gone through this monumental challenge this year and likely into the next. This crisis gives us the potential to jumpstart a movement into new teaching practices, and as a result, equitable learning for all of our students in the future.